What's up, guys? Hades here. It is the 15th. The new patch is out. We got the new skills. I want to review all four real quick, give you my thoughts on each of them, and place them in the tier list. So let's get into it. I think all four of these are pretty cool. I think most of them are going to have a nice place in the meta. And I'm going to talk about which ones go where and kind of where they go on the tier list. Let's start with Psionic Tide. Now, this one, after dealing direct damage, excluding damage over time, with an ultimate skill, 4 times restores 200 points of energy and increases your magical damage by 15%. Now, obviously, this is going to be a mage skill. However, it does have no position limit, so you could, in theory, make this like energy kind of rapid fire type of option, because if you deal direct damage with an ultimate skill 4 times with Khan, he could gain 200 energy and cast his next ultimate quicker. So this has a bit of a flex feel to it, where it doesn't have to be a mage. It's probably going to be better than a mage, and I want you guys to keep this in mind, that not all immortals are made the same. Now, Himiko and Hammurabi do direct damage to 4 guaranteed. I'm not a big fan of putting this on something like Wu, because if she only lands her ultimate 1 time, there's a 30% chance it happens, then this ability is just not really going to work very well for her. It's not going to get that bonus energy regen. You're going to have to think about, who does this really go on and how does it kind of fit into what you're trying to do. I think it might have a place. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it yet. 15% damage is not too high, because we already have concentration at 30. So I'm actually not going to place this one too high. When we go back to the tier list, Psionic Tide for me, I think the best it's going to do would be A tier, and I would not be surprised if it drops into the B tier. I'm actually going to keep these a different color just for the sake of this video. I'll make them red so they're easier to spot in the tier list. So, excuse me, Psionic Tide was the one. Psionic Tide, not a huge fan. I think it's really niche. It could be better than I expect. The 200 regen could be very good. Not a big fan of this 15% magical. Demonic, battle stance. All of these are just better. I mean, we've had concentration in the game forever. There's been a third option in a lot of things, because boosting your other 2 plus your ultimate by 30% has just proven to be very, very powerful. So I don't know if the 15 plus the 200 energy is going to really change it or not. So I'm going to place it A for now, for its flexibility, the fact that it has no limit. 200 energy is pretty good. We're going to go A for now. I wouldn't be shocked if it slides down to B. Next, we have Blood Frenzy. After dealing direct damage, excluding DOT, which is damage over time, with an ultimate skill 4 times, increase your physical damage by 20%, stacking up to 3 layers. Now, this is very similar to Psionic Tide, but this one kind of has a different vibe. Now, damage over time doesn't count, but I believe Poseidon's ultimate, the beginning, this damage rate counts as 4 hits, and it's not the overtime, so it wouldn't stack quickly. So the interesting thing here is 20% is less than anger. It's less than concentration, but on the second cast, you'd get it at 40%, and on the third cast, you get at 60%. Now, this is interesting because it takes time to get the bonuses. You might as well just have Demonic or Battle Stance, which are the 2 best damage amplifiers. It has no limit like them. I guess you could technically make a third one. A lot of people use Demonic and Battle. Maybe Blood Frenzy just becomes the third option, and on their third cast, they do a ton of extra damage. I could see it being good on most of these heroes. Direct damage 4 times is pretty good on everyone here, I believe. with an ultimate skill. I don't know why Hammurabi's here. He wouldn't be affected by it. But the rest look pretty solid. I like the options, but again, you could put this on a mage. There's no reason why it wouldn't work on Hammurabi or Himiko as they suggested in the previous one. So make sure you're expanding your horizons. A position limit's very important, as we'll see in the next couple. Now, how good do I think this is? 20% after your first one is decent, especially like Poseidon. He's going to get a 20% boost. Then that means his continuous damage is going to get a 20% boost. It's not bad at all. I kind of like this. I think it puts in a little bit of that it's just missing that little thing. So I'm going to go here. And this was called Blood Frenzy. So Blood Frenzy, I think it's really similar to Psionic Tide. I think they do very similar things. Blood Frenzy's just more damage focused. Psionic's a little more energy focused. Their numbers feel really similar to me. Now, these next two are the ones I'm personally excited about, and I'm going to go over both of them right now. Chaos Storm. I think this might be the craziest one of the bunch. After the battle starts, there's a 70% chance to deal physical damage of 150% and magical damage of 150%. All enemies every 6 seconds. And reduce their physical and magical defense by 10%. Now, let's break this down. First, what does this make me feel like? Or what is it similar to? It's similar to Death Breath, right? Except Death Breath has a 100% chance and this has 70. But Death Breath is 75 and this is 150. So it's double the damage with less chance, but the estimated value you get for damage is already higher. Second, you also get this tagged on effect of dropping their physical and magical defense. This could be crazy in teams that have a carry and a mage. Something like, I don't know, teams that have Loki and Alex, or Himiko and Alex, or Khan and Hammurabi, right? When they have a dual carry and they're both getting the benefits of this, it sounds very, very strong. Again, no position limit here. And it's a triggered skill, so this can be carried on a tank or the support, right? These kind of skills that have the mixed damage are actually designed for supports, and I'll show you. Death Breath was designed to be on supports. When we pull out someone like, I have a pretty much maxed Zenobia, you look at the stats, you can see physical attack and magical attack are very balanced at pretty much 2400 each if we're rounding. But when you look at a carry, such as Himiko, you're going to see the physical attack is 3,000, magical attack is 10,000, right? It's completely imbalanced. And keep in mind, when Zenobia doesn't have all her gear right now, so she doesn't have what she needs to have these stats higher. But of course, it's going to be better on a carry. But just keep in mind that this could potentially go on a tank or a support, because they're going to get the double value from magic attack and physical attack, or similar value, plus you're going to get that drop in defense. Drop in defense is really important, as a lot of teams have way too much defense. YSS has been running rampant. This almost feels like a counter to him. And I'm really liking everything I see in this skill. I would not be surprised at all if Chaos Storm dropped itself well in the S tier. It sounds like a best in slot. I mean, we'll see how it plays out in the future, but I am excited about this one. Depending on how we obtain them, this is definitely one I would pick up and try out. But finally, we have our last one, Time to Shine. Now, this is the only one that has a position limit. So you can only put it on attackers in the front and range carries in the back. No mages, no tanks, no supports. Let's read it. Increase your crit rate by 35% after you enter battle. Increase your physical damage by 30. Now, whenever I'm valuing these skills, I'm always thinking about how they compare to other things. The first thing I think about with increased physical damage is anger. Anger gives a flat 30. This gives a flat 30, but it has a bonus, right? So anger is almost meta on a few teams, on a few heroes, because the flat 30 is so nice to get the upfront damage, especially on some physical carries that want to be upfront damage. Seen a lot of anger on Alex and Hannibal. Get that upfront damage. Something like this, increasing the crit rate, is interesting. Now, the reason I have position limit is mages can get crit rate on their artifact, and stacking 35 crit rate on here and around 30% crit rate on their artifact would just be too strong, and I believe that's why they put this position limit. Now, looking at the heroes here, the obvious standout are Fire. Fire already synergizes with crit rate, and I believe both these heroes have the chance to optimize the crit rate on Fire, right? Siondiok and Hippolyta really benefit from physical damage, of course, and crit rate is going to scale very well with them. Now, I believe this to be really, really good on both of these heroes, Hippolyta and Siondiok, as they're going to be using it very well. This is a very common build. Pretty much everyone knows about these three skills on Siondiok. Is there room for it, right? It's hard to tell. Unyielding and Coercive have been kind of the bread and butter. Can you get rid of Fighting Master? Because she needs to go quick. You need to win early with Fire, or it just doesn't quite work. Is Time to Shine good enough to remove one of those skills? The answer is I don't know. We're going to have to find out. Hopefully we can test these very soon and find out and get more information on them. But I think this skill has the potential to be S tier on those two heroes. I think it's going to be pretty average on the rest, but I'm going to go out a limb here and say that it's going to be S tier. That's just my prediction. I have a feeling if I was a betting man, that's definitely where I would put it. I think it belongs in the S tier. It has those vibes. There's a reason we don't have a lot of crit rate in the game. It's really hard to find crit rate. And there's a few reasons why, you know, we want this crit rate from Unyielding, because once you have the crit rate after you lose your HP, you're gonna stack them. It's gonna be 50 plus 35%. This can go on Siondiok or Hippolyta, and I just have a feeling it's gonna be very, very strong. Yeah, if you guys like these kind of videos, I will catch you guys